Hey everyone, today we are playing Godless. Godless is a turn-based roguelike strategy game of vengeance against mortals. And man, let me tell you, this game is awesome. Having so much fun with it, we're gonna jump straight into it. So you see when you hit play game, you get to pick a shrine. At the beginning, there's only a couple options available. I'm keeping it simple with the first shrine. I'll explain it in a minute. We have plenty of time to explain things in this run. This is the start. You see the anomaly options on the right there. Those are just kind of starting things that you can kind of filter or refresh to basically get ones that you think are interesting. And they're just kind of curveballs throughout the run that are thrown in there for each continent that we get to. All this will be explained. You see the difficulty on the bottom left. There's still stuff that's locked, but I've played this a good amount so far. I think I have like 15, 20 hours in the game. I have pretty much 3/4 of the game unlocked, I'd say. This is the first game where I basically have a full complete game of completing all 4 acts. Here we go. When you start, you get to choose skills. These are the main tiles or abilities that you use throughout the run. There are 3 different types of skills: units, tiles, and spells. So I've picked 2 units so far. You see that one's a spell. This one's a unit, the Blade Master. This one is a unit, the Protector of Nature. So we will dig into what all these units, spells, and tiles do, especially the ones that I'm picking here at the beginning, because the ones that I pick here are pretty crucial throughout the run, don't change much. The scrolls here, if you look at the top of the screen, we have health in the top left, then you'll see the diamond, the section with tiles. These scrolls here are going to go in that section just to the left of the middle of the screen on the top. So now we have 1 of 3 scrolls. Those are just battle abilities that you can use and buy throughout the game. We're going to take a short pause to kind of explain the library and upgrades. This is when you finish a game, you get these skill points, and you can use the skill points to unlock further things that help you throughout the game. For example, that scroll we just picked at the beginning of the game, that was unlocked through the library through these skill points. Let's get back to the run. I just wanted to explain that at the beginning. We'll see it again at the end. You jump straight into a battle after you picking your first 3 skills and anything else that's unlocked with the library. So the first thing you do in a battle is your shrine placement. You see the highlighted yellow hexes are the only places I can place the shrine. That is one of the anomalies, or I believe one of the abilities of this continent. Again, I'll explain all this stuff further. I know it could be confusing. The main thing to focus here is shrine placement. You see a bunch of different enemies on the map. You also see the tiles have different things on them, right? Some of them have trees with the forest. Some of them are kind of like this little swampy thing. You see the mountains there and the left side and the volcanoes. They're pretty intimidating. So the volcanoes do damage every turn, so don't want to put the shrine next to a volcano. And those swords are technically enemies, so I don't want to put the shrine next to an enemy. And you see that bottom, the far left side I'm looking at has the mountain there. That would isolate the shrine pretty good. That is the whole goal of this build that I'm doing here in this run, is to isolate the shrine and then funnel the units in a certain path, basically control the pathing of the units so that I can exploit that pathing. So it's a very cool concept that I think shows a lot of the potential of this game. You have not only the synergy between the units, but tiles and spells that also can tie in those synergies, add to them, and it's pretty awesome. It's the second awesome so far. We're probably going to use it a lot. So you see here, I build 3 units at the start of the battle with the I'm forgetting what some of this stuff is called. I'm going to call it mana right now because I don't know what else to call it. I think it's called mana. I'm not quite sure. We'll see on some of the abilities. Actually, yes, it is called mana. And the unit that's close to my shrine is actually one that was spawned at the beginning of the game. That was, I believe, something we picked at the beginning of the game. But the main thing to focus on right here, as I'm going to be speeding up these battles because they're pretty long, is the unit that I did create is fighting this sword, right? Kind of in the middle of the map right now. 2 units are approaching the shrine, so it's pretty scary. And we'll focus on the ability of some of these units in the other battles. I want to focus on what my stuff does. I think that's a little more easier to understand right now. So the only 2 units I have in the battle are the same units. You see right above their attack and health is the 0 out of 2 or 1 out of 2. So every 2 attacks, that ability will push the enemy back 1 space. So you will actually see that happen throughout the runs, and the goal is to get the enemies close to the edge and knock them off the edge. In the first couple rounds battles here, it's not as important because the units aren't that strong, and these units, like the 814 stat line of our middle unit right next to the enemy right now, is a pretty strong unit for this first battle. And each battle, by the way, has 3 waves. Once you finish the first wave, the second wave immediately starts. So you can kind of use that to your advantage sometimes too, to like either prolong waves or try to get waves completed as quick as possible. And you see how long this video is. I speed up a lot of these battles because some of these battles get insanely long. Some of them are fairly short and simple, and I use a combination of the method you see with this push unit, every 2 attacks do a push, as well as a combination of another unit and tiles that we have. So it's pretty interesting. And all this is going to come into play soon. I actually have a tile that I can use right now that will do damage to an enemy when it enters, but I'm not using that. I'm just going with the unit spam method. And I guess now that we have a second, I'll explain some of the tiles on the map you see. The forest. The forest will give units on that tile 2 HP at the start of every turn. So you see the start of every turn, it just happened. Everything gets 2 HP. There's an enemy that will do damage to units on a forest. That kind of cancels that out. So in this first battle or on this continent, sometimes you don't want to be on the forest. And then the swamps will do damage to units when they're on them. The volcanoes, the fiery mountains, will do damage to adjacent units every turn. And the mountain, I think, is self-explanatory. It's just an immovable, impassable object. So the other unit I started spamming on the map now is the priest, or the cleric, sorry. The clerics, when they move, they heal adjacent units. So you see our 2 main push units now have 32, 34 HP. Pretty much guaranteed us the victory at that point. And I figure if you can just spam units and protect the shrine at all costs, that's a good strategy. So now you get to choose some rewards. The sparks you get to invest in later, so it's just a good resource to grab. Anytime I see those early, I typically grab them. And yeah, those are going to come into play during these shop phases here. So you get 2 options. You get to pick a path. Pick one path, it gives you 2 basically benefits or yeah, 2 rewards kind of things. So we enter the summoning circle and we get to pick a reward, but it comes with a consequence. So it's pretty interesting. We can get a scroll, we can get a talent which is permanent, or we can just take some resources. Decide to just go with the resources, which I think is kind of the fallback option for that. And now we get to pick the consequence. So the next battle, we have to fight an additional unit on wave 1. So whatever unit we pick is going to spawn at the start of battle, which is kind of a gnarly consequence. It can easily end a run, especially if you don't have a synergy fully tied together. But already I'm feeling pretty good about what we got going here, and I feel like it's going to be tied together with a couple more skills. And the diamond to the left of the skill tiles at the top of the screen comes into play as well. So each act, there are 3 continents that you have to complete. The 3rd continent is the final boss of that act. So here we are on the 2nd continent of Act 1. Again, we are on the shrine placement. I'm just checking my my tile there, just because I didn't use it last battle, so I wasn't the most familiar with it. And the cool thing about those tiles is you can actually destroy other tiles. So right there, what I did was I placed my shrine on and the spawned unit on harmful tiles, and then I just use my tile to remove it and give some extra HP. So I was wrong before about what I thought that tile was. I thought it was one where like the enemy enters the tile and takes damage. It's not. It just removes, it destroys a tile, and then it gives HP to any unit that's on it. And the shrine in almost all cases is considered a unit. I guess it's considered a shrine, but you can basically any ability or something that's going to affect a unit. For example, the cleric that's next to it, if the cleric moves next to the shrine, it will give the shrine the HP. So you see the battle's going fast here. I put the push guy in the far back. Kind of interesting. And a lot of times when I'm setting up these battles, what I'm trying to do is just get it so we hit some of these beneficial tiles. And look at here, this I'm letting this enemy go, but he only has 1 HP, so he's actually gonna die. I need to start paying attention to the numbers here because it's pretty crucial to like what's going on. So you see the 20 HP enemy, 10 HP enemy. I have 2 clerics. Unfortunately, they KO our good unit, so yeah, gotta do something about it. Could just buy a cleric, but we're gonna wait for the shark. So you go to the next wave, and the assassin-looking enemy is very interesting. When they attack, they automatically teleport to the shrine, so it's pretty scary. So we get a random summoned unit. We get a lot of these like talents or things that proc during the battle that kind of give us these random units. Kind of cool. Just adds another layer. And I think it's good for us to get more units spammed on the battlefield. It's kind of the strategy I'm going with right now. It's just the unit spam. The pushes aren't necessarily working out, which is interesting because I've played this unit in other games and it works out very, very well. And we'll see it, I'm sure, in some battles, but right now it's just being used as a beefy tank unit. So there you see me put a harmful tile down. And a little concerned because our shrine only has 14 health. And the assassin teleports to the shrine. So very scary scenario here. And we just decide to end turn. So we take the hit, go down to 8 HP. The good thing for us is we KO the assassin before it attacks. So now it's all about protecting the shrine even more. Put the cleric next to it. Luckily, it was the third wave, so we just had to get through that. 8 HP left. So a very dire situation here. The ferocious bear comes into play. It costs 1 mana to summon. So you see the shark unit we're using mainly, it costs 3 mana to summon. So having a cleric that's 1 mana to summon, as well as this ferocious bear, could be a good combo. But I'm not quite sure how it's going to work yet. Let's merge some sparks. So you see in the top right, Blood Ruby, usable by unit. On attack, steals 1 attack from target. I'm going to be cycling these. And the green sparks are on a discount, so I actually just buy 2 of them. At a certain point, you got to spend your resources, so something on a discount like that's very tempting to me. And you see I'm just kind of changing these up, seeing if I can find something that's going to be beneficial for us. And you needed to switch them on all sides, right? I tried green-yellow, now it's yellow-green. Immediately adds stats to a unit on summon. And I was like, oh, this is great. And this one's kind of cool because it gives them stats and corrupts them, which means tiles abilities trigger twice. That's definitely going to come into play. I think you can use it in absolutely insane ways. We're going to use it in a pretty insane way. And you can actually upgrade gems further to like a an upgraded gem, I guess. I was about to call it a meta gem. Shout out to the Meta Brusque fans. The meta gem sounds like a World of Warcraft thing, right? For all you MMO fans out there. I really like the the kind of crossover between the RPG games and these kind of auto battler RPG games, roguelike games. Really, really cool. Something you just get to kind of sink your teeth into, try to min-max. And there's the gem again I'm considering. And I looked at the cleric, it has a 1-2 base stat, so it actually increases its stats a little bit. I'm not sure. It's really funny. I wanted to show this in its original speed though, because I think it's a very crucial part of the game. And now I'm looking to spend the last spark we have. So it's very rare that I can merge this many sparks this early into the game. But I think it's really cool, and I think it's what set this run up. On enter creates adjacent copy of this hex. It's very important. It's very, very important. So it's a tile gem. And you see once I upgrade the gems, you see the check marks on those skills to the right of the diamond at the top of the screen. Those check marks are the gems applied to those skill spaces. So I can change the skills around and the gem is still applied to that skill slot. So you'll see I should apply this diamond, the last diamond I have. I might forget about it for a battle or two, which is hilarious because I think it's the thing that really ties this whole run together and really causes it to pop off. But let's focus on this battle because it's the first boss of Act 1. I don't think I speed this up at all. I think we're just going to hang out and kind of like figure this out, because if you're interested in playing this game or kind of following along, this is one of the important parts. These boss battles are very crucial. I decided to commit the shrine to a forest. That's, yeah, I guess in a corner, kind of farthest away from most of the enemies and kind of the safest corner. And check this out, if I summon units next to the shrine, I believe they get more stats. I think that's one of the talents that I have. Talents are shown at the top left of the screen, just below the hearts. Remember, we're on 8 hearts. It's a very dire situation, but because the bears and the clerics are only 1 mana, I can summon so many of them at the beginning, because I think we start with 5 or 6 mana, and that's because of those library upgrades I showed at the very beginning that you get as you play games. You get those unlocks. And from what I'm seeing, I think it would take 20-25 hours probably for somebody to unlock most of those library upgrades. And it does not really hinder you from playing the game, because as you unlock those library upgrades, you unlock the increased difficulties in the game. So it's kind of like the whole game is scaling up as you get those unlocks. So don't feel like you're missing out on something because, or like you have to invest 25 hours before you can start playing the game. I got this run. I could have easily gotten this run without half of my library unlocks. You know, I could have gotten this run 5 hours into playing this game, probably even earlier. So it's really cool. I think you just have to grasp like the base concept, which is kind of difficult, but if you just focus mainly on your units and doing something very strong with your units, it can work. And here you see it's just the unit spam. We got the bears, we got the cleric. Look at these bears. I mean, they're getting decent stats. And when this sword dies right here, you see now the bear and clerics are both at 10/10s. So things are getting very beefy. And remember, we haven't used that diamond that we got, the upgraded diamond for the tile. So we have something we've invested in that really, we are not using it. So I was talking about like controlling the pathing of units and whatnot. That's more with that shark unit. What's it called? The ferocious bite, I think. I need to learn the names of these pets and everything, but it's very overwhelming when you start playing these games. So it's good to focus on something. Like I said, just focus on your team and what you got going. And every turn, we're just getting more stats, and I figure the more stats we get, the better. The boss has 67 HP, so considering we're getting to 20 and 10 attack on most of our units, that's only a couple more turns. Assuming the boss is going to 1 or 2 shot all of our units, the only thing I don't want to happen is I don't want the boss to reach the shrine, because the shrine has 6 HP. So this run could easily fall flat right now. It's very scary. So you see I just spam units in between. We just want to fill the gaps. Kind of okay if the boss goes to the spot open on his left because it's a harmful tile. And we have a 24/20 bear kind of protecting the shrine right next to it. So at a certain point with the unit spam, you gotta be careful, because if you flood your board too much and your strong units can't get to what they need to get to attack, you're gonna be in a world of hurt. That comes into play a little bit here, and partly why this run is so long, and why these battles are so long. But it also adds to the glory of these runs. Like I said, once I get these tile spaces going with this diamond, this is absolutely gonna pop off. And you see here the boss just attacked and moved. It's at 14 HP, but you know the enemies attack after your units. If you see in the middle of the screen on the far left side, there's the blue diamond. Right now it says tiles, and then there's the green icon below it and the red one below it. It kind of shows like the blue is my turn. And right now it's showing that the tiles are doing the tile actions. Now it's my allies' action. So all of my allies get to do their turns, I believe from highest attack to lowest attack. And then the enemies get to go their turn. So your allies are always going to go first. We pretty much know that means we're going to win the battle right here, or at least kill the boss. There's still the sword left on the right, but when you kill a boss, you get the victory. Let's go. So that means that Act 1 is complete, but first we get to pick some rewards. The rewards you always get just those base resources, and now we get to choose another skill or scroll actually. On enter, doubles the attack of any entering units. That is a tile, which is awesome because we have the diamond there. You can see I'm trying to use, but it won't let me because it's the transition from Act 1 to Act 2. You get to pick a consequence. They're called consequences, but they're not really consequences. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Typically, I just pick the thing that's going to impact me the least and also give me a benefit, if that makes sense. So you can't place the shrine on some hexes, and you get 4 places of power, which gives you mana when an ally enters on each continent. I figured, oh yeah, that could be great. The more mana we get, the more bears we can buy initially. And like I said, at the start of some battles, the first wave, sometimes you place your units to just set up to hit those mana tiles, so you can just kind of get like a big explosion at the start and then just ride it out. We have ascended to a god of war, so we actually get a talent for that. And there we go, we applied the gem to the totemic circle. On enter creates a copy of this tile on an adjacent hex. So yeah, when our units are already getting buffed pretty big, the bear cleric, right, the combo. Now we're going to be buffing our attack like crazy. The clerics buff health. So it kind of makes sense, you know, kind of makes sense. We'll see how it goes. Now we get to use our sparks, or our, forgot what these are called. Whenever an ally attacks 5 times in total, create a lava field. Grants Blade Flurry to every 3rd summon ally. Blade Flurry means they attack twice. So every 3rd summoned ally is going to attack twice every turn instead of once. When you consider the ferocious shark that we have, it needs 2 attacks to push the enemy. That is an amazing combo. Deals 2 damage to a random enemy whenever you create a tile. Summons an orc berserker at the start of battle. Well, we are going to be creating a lot of tiles with our tile diamond that we just used, our totemic circle, I believe it's called. Whenever an ally or enemy enters the totemic circle, it will create an adjacent, a copy at an adjacent hex, and then we'll be doing damage to the enemy, right, with that skill, or the talent we just got. So this is really cool, and these lightning bolts of different colors are just resources that kind of coincide with the sparks that we merged to create the gems earlier. Pretty cool, and you can see I'm just trying to figure out if I can spend any more resources to get anything. Typically when runs are going good like this, I know I don't need to buy much at the shop, so I'm spending all of my ether, which is the monetary resource, the currency, ether, the blue flaming stuff, spending that anywhere other than the shop. Because the shop, you can buy tiles, you can buy sorry, not tiles. You can buy skills, you can buy scrolls, and you can buy sparks or like replenish HP, which I know is good, but you don't see it too often. Kind of got to like re-roll the shop to do that. So here we are in the second continent. Big change up. You see these little wind that kind of push wind blowing in a certain direction. That's going to do exactly what you think it is. When a unit enters that tile, they will be pushed in that direction. You see a lot of the wind is pushing off the continent. That'll do exactly what you think it'll do. It will push them off the continent. You can utilize that to your advantage, but it can also come at an extreme detriment. What I found really hurts us in this run, you're going to see me destroy a tile here. I'm going to do it, I think, very quickly here. I'm going to destroy a tile that if a unit enters, it will resummon the shrine to a random location. Wherever I put my shrine at the beginning of these battles, especially on this continent, I don't want the shrine moving because I want to funnel the units. So see there, I actually protect my bear. I don't think I saw the tile yet. It's right in between the two enemies towards the top right of the screen. It's kind of the red glowing broken up tile, just bottom left of the sword. But yeah, we got our bears going. And you see the wind there. So when the wind pushes, it deactivates for a turn. And I think you see here, as I speed up the battle, so I actually speed these up to 250% because, yeah, they take a long time. And I take a long time to make some of my decisions because I'm still fairly new to this game. And I recognize at this point that these runs had a lot of potential. And you see here, I create an absolute funnel. So I'm just spamming units next to my shrine and letting them funnel out, and the enemies are just slowly crawling towards us. So I'm just basically saying, hey, I'm playing the long game here. Even if some of my units you see are getting pushed off, whatever. We're just, we're figuring it out. And you see what the bear's on and what the enemy's on. That's the tile. This little golden pool. That's the tile you enter, it doubles your attack, and it's also going to create a copy of that tile on an adjacent space. So you're going to see these starting to get spammed everywhere, and you're going to see the attack on our units go absolutely to the moon. So what's the risk on running something like this? The risk is in between each wave, or at the start of every new wave, the enemies spawn at random. So the enemies can spawn right next to our shrine if their space is open. And at this point, I don't think I fully recognize that. And there you go. Both enemies spawn right next to the shrine. The shrine is at 39 HP now. Luckily, we get these fate procs. Or I don't think they're procs. I think they're just things you can choose. I don't remember if it's talent or what. But we get to build these walls around. The walls only have 9 HP, but they basically give us a buffer for these two enemies, which is very nice. And these winds are super annoying. They keep pushing our units back and forth. You see our priests on the bottom right are at risk of being pushed off the map. But I don't really care at this point, and I go for the... Is it called the Ferocious Bite? I'm going to call it the shark guy for now. This is the shark icon. 2 hits, push. You see that enemy at the top left. Now we have 1 hit on it. It moved, but all we need is 1 more hit, and it will perish. It has 41 HP. Just use something to do a little damage, but that doesn't matter, because if you look at our shark dude, it should hit him, it should push him off. It's so funny. When you get the unit spam, the battles can be pretty long. And it was kind of weird, our Furious Brute, Ferocious Bite. The Furious Brute is what it's called. And sorry, I didn't mean to disrespect the unit, because it's such a great unit. It didn't seem to attack, so I was kind of confused, but it should attack right here. You're about to see it. There we go, and look at that. Both enemies spawn right next to us again. The good thing is we have the Furious Brute going there. We still have a wall up, so we just need to hopefully put a unit in between our shrine and the enemy, but we don't have the mana to do it. But we can summon a cursed spirit, so luckily it kind of saved us from an attack. We're at 35 HP on the shrine, 37 now, so we're doing a little bit better. And our Furious Brute next to the enemy has one attack so far, so we're about to get a second attack. And it's pretty funny how, look at the choke point. You see the bear that just moved closer to our shrine? It has over 1,000 attack. Isn't that ridiculous? We have these such strong units in the middle, and they were doing nothing. We fell back on the push unit. Every 2 attack push. So I thought that was hilarious, and it's just kind of a good showcase of what this game has to offer. You might have a crazy build going, something happens, you gotta pivot, or you gotta figure it out with another method. And luckily we had the Furious Brute still. You see I have another skill slot open, so I basically get to pick something here. Those skill slots are something you open with the library. And here we go, another, what I call the shop phase. I'm not sure what it's exactly called, but I come from the world of super auto pets, so you typically have your shop phase and your battle phase, and it's a similar concept in a lot of these games, right? So I'm just kind of checking some of my skills and the diamonds that go with it. Choose a path to take. We get another talent here. Some of these are decent, some are whatever. You just kind of pick something that's going to be consistent over time. At this point in the run, these things really aren't providing me much benefit, so it's kind of funny that I'm trying to min-max this still. It's like, come on, let's just pick one and move on. These mysterious paths are always interesting. The start next battle, typically I wouldn't want, because it's temporary, right? I like investing in permanent things. We have at least 3 acts to go through. Spoiler, it's 4 acts. I thought it was only 3 acts because that's as far as I'd gotten in the game, and as far as the game like showed me at that point. So yeah, I thought it was really funny, and you're gonna see towards the end of the run, I actually blow all of my ether to get right before the final boss in the 3rd act, and then realize there's a 4th act, and I'm like, oh geez, we have no ether now. But it all comes together. It all comes together. Interesting shrine placement there. We put it next to one of those swords, which like I said is definitely an enemy. The swords, when you destroy them, they will give stats to adjacent allies or enemies, adjacent units. And you see there's a ton of wind around, so I figured this should be relatively simple. Hopefully we can just kill the sword, buff our bears. There we go. You see the enemies just walk into the winds there. And these continents are like randomly generated, so I'm getting a little lucky here, but at the same time, my bears could walk into this stuff. And you see there, an enemy got a hit directly on our shrine. So it's kind of scary, shrine taking damage. The good thing is we have 3 strong bears surrounding him. And I put a harmful tile on that guy. Oh no, I put the attack tile because I know my units are going to be walking through it. Yeah, lots of decisions, lots of things to do, but it gets pretty simple because you get the 1 mana per turn, and at a certain point I know I just need to buy the clerics to kind of like give a little bit of HP buffer to everything, and the clerics just kind of serve as target dummies, if you will, to just absorb some hits. And I got a couple strong bears, so I figure, yeah, this is looking good. I don't want this bottom enemy to get to the shrine, but these 2 middle bears should do something about it. And if you see right below the health and attack of units, like for example my 2 bears in the middle of the screen, they have the green icon with the 2 around it. Those are 2 poison debuffs, so it's either a buff or a debuff. Those come into play at a certain point, not so much on this run, so I don't think it's that important to pay attention to. The cleric has the purple hand symbols when I summon them, and that is from the at the end of Act 1. It's from the diamond, from the sparks we merged, that I added to the cleric skill. That basically corrupts them, and corrupted units will take double the spell or tile abilities, I believe. And you see here at this point, we've got the shrine surrounded pretty well. Our units are entering and exiting these beneficial tiles, and we're basically one-shotting everything. And I think we had a priest at 568 attack, which is kind of crazy for a cleric. Sorry for calling it priest so much. I'm just used to calling things priest instead of clerics in games. It's just one of those interchangeable kind of healer gaming terms. The clerics. When we take a lava field, it'll be interesting to see if we cycle it in. Could easily create a lava field instead of the totemic circle to use with the kind of meta gem that we have. But what we got going is pretty good as well. The attack boosting. Using the harmful tiles is more in line with the furious brute that we use to push enemies. So you kind of want to funnel enemies to a certain point, and then you can use the furious brute to not only knock them off the map, but to push them into harmful tiles. So really cool, really cool example of the synergies and the possibilities in this game. What other builds are in this game that I've seen? There are poison builds, the debuff that I showed. Poison builds are really cool. It's more of like you kind of got to, over a first couple rounds, build up the poisons, and then it kind of cascades and goes crazy. Poison builds are super strong. What else have I seen? You can go like heavy spell damage builds or spell builds, kind of like what you're seeing I'm utilizing with the tile, but imagine spells instead. So every round you're casting a spell that's like doing damage to the enemy. There's spells that deal like 12, 20, 40 damage to the enemy. I mean, it gets crazy. You imagine with those gems as well, it can get gnarly. So I believe we're on the boss. What is this, the boss of Act 2? I'm kind of losing my place here. We're getting pretty far into this run so far, but we got a ways to go. Passive adds 3 health to this unit whenever a unit dies. So the good thing is we're going to get strong units ourselves, but our units do not start strong. So it's kind of a tricky spot to be. You see the yellow spots are the only places we can set the shrine. So I want to keep the shrine away from enemies, but also in a spot where I can kind of dictate my own terms, right? So we get the unit that automatically summons next to the shrine. Now we get to spend our 5 mana that we get. Of course, we're going to spam units around the shrine because they get the extra stats. And these bears are going to kill the sword at the beginning, so everything around the sword will get buffed. So we want to surround the sword as much as possible. And just buy a cleric so we can start buffing the health, because some of the bears start super weak, as you can see. So yeah, immediately you see the first cascade, and our units go from small to medium size, which is great. In some of these battles here, when we get kind of set up here, I'm just going to kind of let it ride out. If you're interested and kind of engaged, I feel like at this point you should be able to kind of follow what's going on, even though it's pretty sped up. And yeah, I'm going to catch my breath a little and get ready for the next round. Alright, there we go. Another victory, pretty easy. The boss did get to our shrine at the end there, so it was a little scary. But you see, I think we had another priest at like 260-something attack, so things were getting pretty out of control there. And yeah, the longer the battles go on, the more stronger, what are we saying? Let's focus on the consequence we have to pick. Bosses have minus 25% health and attack, shuffles mana cost of all skills each turn. Pretty interesting. We have multiple one skill or one mana skills. We have a couple 2 and 3s. So that consequence could actually be a benefit. It's kind of a tough one though, because you know, a lot of times we're just spamming our bears and our clerics. Speaking of the bear, I should probably learn the name, kind of like I was doing with the shark, right? But we got our bears and our clerics that we're spamming. If those kind of get the 2 and 3 mana cost every turn, it could hurt us. But that's part of the RNG that's induced in this game. I think it's very fun. It's a very fun curveball. You see at the bottom right what I'm showing with the cursor here? These things you can refresh, and they're basically kind of telling you what happens on that continent. So we're going to have these frozen lake tiles, and then enemies are going to gain stats on attack. Kind of scary, but I'm not too worried about it with the build that we have going. There's other things that could be very more detrimental, and you just want to pay attention to those, because if you see anything that's alarming, just re-roll it. It's as simple as that. So you see here we're spending our lightning bolts again. Sorry, I'm blanking on the name of them. But yeah, we get to the top one. Each battle grants Blade Flurry to the first 3 summoned allies. So immediately when we place our shrine, it summons a random ally. So that one's going to get Blade Flurry, as well as the first 2 units we summon, which I'm assuming will be bears, which is amazing. So not only the 3rd ally that we have summoned every game gets Blade Flurry, but it's the first 3. And now we get the meta for this one. Applies poison to every chosen enemy every 3 turns. And on turn 3, we get to do something. Is it a heal? Sorry, I'm kind of missing it. Even though we're going normal speed. But yeah, those are very, very crucial things to get to. Kind of milestones, especially entering the 3rd act here. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And you see, because I just spent all of our ether, our currency, I basically didn't have any for the shop. Wasn't too concerned with it. We're at a very, very healthy spot in this game. So let's just head to the next continent and head to battle. Are we at 1 ether right now? That's actually hilarious. But I think it was great value using it on those lightning bolts, getting those extra abilities. Those are really going to help tie this together and just make this a very, very, very strong build. Already strong, even stronger. As I said before, more stronger, apparently. So here we go, the new continent. You see these frozen lakes. What do? When a unit enters the frozen lake, it will crack. On the 3rd crack, the hex will be destroyed. If the unit that is on that hex, when it is destroyed, it will fall and die. So pay attention to that. We will see it throughout. It will probably be sped up, because yeah, I'm going to be speeding up these battles more. And there's our random unit summoned. You see below its attack and HP, 5-8. It has 2 Blade Flurry stacks. So that 2 signifies that it has Blade Flurry. It attacks twice every turn. Same thing for both of our bears. You see the 3rd bear, or the 2nd bear that was summoned, has a 3 next to the Blade Flurry icon. It attacks 3 times. So the 2, I'm going to call them talents that we have, actually stacked. It's pretty cool. I didn't notice that at first. Yeah, most of our units right now have Blade Flurry. Pretty crazy. All we need to do is get the scaling rolling. So you see I bought the priest, and our 3 Blade Flurry bear is at 1 HP. It's pretty devastating. It might go down. We'll see what happens. But all I really care about at this map is it's kind of the control map. So all I want to do is basically like start triggering these tiles and notice the ferocious brutes, the furious brutes. I am completely mixing up these names now. They got the 1 mana cost, so I actually spammed them, and I figure if I can push enemies into these frozen lakes and get these cracks propagating, they will eventually lead to catastrophic failure. And our brutes are actually like super statted up, which is nice. So actually, yeah, just summon a cleric and I think destroy a couple tiles, a couple of these lakes that are right next to my shrine. Trying to figure out what exactly to do here. It's kind of interesting, but if you see at this point, we have decent control. The enemy is towards the back. We have time because our units are still approaching the enemy. So this seems very strong, and look at that. We destroyed our own bear in that hex. We actually destroyed 2 hexes and 2 of our units. Our shrine is now isolated. I don't know what exactly happens as far as like enemies when they reach a certain choke point. I think we will see in this run. I should say I don't remember. But this, as far as I was concerned at this point, is best case scenario. And you see, I filled all the gaps next to my shrine because I don't want enemies to spawn there on the next wave. And an enemy actually spawned at the closest point next to our shrine. Decide to freeze one of the enemies because of the enemy ability. And decide to buy more furious brutes because they will push the enemy off the map. Just 2 attacks. And one of our furious brutes, the one at the bottom middle of the map, actually has Blade Flurry, which is great. Only problem is a cleric's in the way. That cleric just got destroyed though. So yeah, gonna let this one play out. Catch you in a minute or two. I mean, isn't this just hilarious? I just spammed the whole map with units. So overkill, so unnecessary, but so hilarious. Let's see what we get for rewards. The standard rewards. We can get a spell scroll, which is our 3rd scroll. I have not used any scrolls yet, which is a good sign. But at the same time, if I enter a shop or get another potential scroll reward, I now don't have an open slot, so I can't get another scroll. So sometimes it is good to use a scroll to have an open slot. And we got another talent. Elemental synergies are the lightning bolts. I just caught that. So take 2 crossroads because we really don't have a lot of ether. The elemental synergies we just did recently, we don't have any sparks. So it kind of makes sense. Tough to take speed rewards, but considering we're like the other ones weren't really good options, I don't want to sell things that are like greatly benefiting us. It makes sense. And on this frozen lake, some of the battles are going faster, right? It's kind of a different strategy we're utilizing. We didn't use the meta tile last turn. And check out this continent. It created a choke point for us. So we have a natural choke point. So I figured let's just send it on the far left side here, like the farthest point away. And this battle is going to get very interesting here. Because it's kind of what I was referencing earlier as far as the unit control, which definitely comes into play in whatever kind of team or synergy you're running. But it's pretty cool how I'm running kind of 2 different builds within the same run here. we see the crazy cascading attack tiles, which are going to come into play more. But on these continents, it's more viable to run this other synergy I have going with the lava fields coming into play now at this choke point. So you see, I'm just starting to spam lava fields. Obviously, I want to get a couple units going, and I put the bear there so it triggered the mana spot. Luckily, the lava tile and the furious brutes get the 1 mana cost. So here we go. These purple portals next to our units that he just entered. When units enter them, they activate the ability trigger of all the adjacent tiles. So it's actually the perfect setup for these lava tiles at the choke point. This run, or this battle here, is absolutely glorious, especially considering the speed rewards that we went for. Look at the lava path that I have set up. I mean, it's purely just, as long as the units spawn far away, we are set. They are going to just walk in a path of lava to their own demise. So cool, so cool. And now our units are reaching the choke point too, so we're just delaying it more. And yeah, enjoy the battle. Pretty scary. The enemies spawned where we did not want them to again. It's very, very scary when this happens. The good part is we have some strong units. You see we have a 12 attack with Blade Flurry at the bottom, hitting the very bottom left enemy. And yeah, the enemy's already KO'd, so it's very nice. Get to choose our reward, and I just take some energy even though we don't really need it, because I don't necessarily know what happens when you cap out that energy, or it doesn't necessarily cap out, but we cannot get any more talents from that elemental synergy, or that energy I should say. So we are entering the 3rd continent of Act 3, which is what I thought was the final boss. So we're gonna have a pretty funny, I basically took this path so we can get to the shop because we have 358 ether. Go ahead and spend 25 to get to this first level here so we can at least choose 1 talent. Every 5th unit that dies turns into something. When you spend mana, a random enemy will lose stats. Both of them not too great, but if we have a lot of units that die, that could benefit us, just automatically spawning another one. Could be good, could be good. And now we enter the shop, and it's really funny because we don't need much from the shop. We have 3 scrolls, so I'm going to speed this up a lot because I just start spam refreshing. I figure I'm not going to be able to spend these sparks on anything. But then once I start refreshing a lot, I'm like, alright, I'll just start buying discounted sparks. What am I looking for here? I'm looking for HP. We have 104 health on our shrine, but I don't think it caps out. So I'm like, alright, the only thing I can really get to benefit us is hearts. And I just kind of give up at a certain point after spending all of my ether. So here we go, the final act battle. I don't think I'm going to speed this up. I guess we will see. So Wandering Mage on move adds stats to adjacent allies, which is pretty scary considering it's surrounded by the 3 swords there. So it's just going to buff those swords. And the boss is actually the kind of blue fortress that I'm hovering right now. Torblan summons a random enemy from any act every 2 turns. and it's surrounded by the walls. So pretty interesting here. So it kind of tells me that I need to basically isolate the left side of the map and work my way to the right. And any enemy that spawned, I just need to deal with. I'm kind of going with the slower approach. You see our ally that spawned in between those swords there. We have 3 more spots next to our shrine that's open. And obviously we're just going to be spamming bears there. And hopefully killing these swords and killing the enemy as fast as possible. Getting all the stats from the swords. And then slowly moving to the right. So luckily we take care of it pretty quick. The swords, the enemy that was next to our shrine. We're at 111 HP, which is fantastic. Fantastic buffer to be in. You see the enemy that spawned, I don't think that was from the boss. I think that was from these... Oh, sorry, that's our unit, isn't it? We're spawning allies. And yeah, might as well get the tile going. Nope, we decide to wait. Interesting decision. But if you see, we have the tile going in the middle and right next to the fortress wall where our bear died. So we have our tile cascade that's starting. So basically, units that as they enter that choke point and go to attack the enemy, they will be getting that attack buff, which is nice. So at this point I figured I just need to spam units. Get units spamming. You see a lot of them at Blade Flurry. A lot of them, you know, 10 to 20 attack is really all we need to get through these walls, and then 150 attack or 150 health on the boss. So it'd be pretty cool to see a one-shot, I think. I'm not sure if we get it here or in another, like I said, the surprise 4th act that comes. We have some other fun battles that come. But yeah, this one's pretty cool, and I think it's a very great highlight of what this game has to offer, the potential with the synergies and the builds, kind of everything being tied together. It's very, very nice. I mean, look at the stats on some of these units. We got a 62, 18, 3-trigger Blade Flurry bear. So that bear is going to be doing 186. Now look at 130. 133 times. So that will easily one-shot the boss if it can get there. Unfortunately, we start attacking the boss. And there, I think it might have been the first time I found out you can kind of scroll in and out and move the camera. So I don't know if I start messing with it, but I realized that at a certain point I don't want to mess with it right now. Because this is a great run that I'm recording, and I knew this was going to be a video. And look at what's happening. It's just, honestly, it looks so cool. It looks so cool. And yeah, this fight actually went a lot faster than I thought. And what do you know? Look who's leading the charge. It's none other but the 1,157 attack cleric. I bet you'd never thought you'd see that. 4,628 attack. And let me tell you something. That's not even close to where this build gets in this next act. If you've made it this far, you are about to see this thing absolutely pop off. It's my mind was blown, and honestly, I'm gonna keep repeating it. It shows the potential of this game. I think they've really caught on to something cool here. So what are we looking at? This is for the next run. Very interesting. These are consequences for the next run. Yeah, I was pretty baffled by that. But yeah, that comes into play a couple times. There's multiple things you can do to kind of influence your next run, which I think is cool as well, because depending on what you get, you can just kind of increase or decrease the difficulty and kind of just roll with it. You kind of got to roll with the punches, roll with the RNG. And if you embrace that concept, this game has so many cool things that kind of make you scratch your head and be like, ooh, what should I do here? Maybe I try maybe I try this. Maybe this will work. Let's try this. And then you're like, okay, well that failed miserably. Let's go the other direction. You're like, oh, that popped off. Let's go. And as the pieces start coming together, you'll eventually hit something like this run, and it's amazing. So here we are crafting some more gems. I believe we have a talent that when we craft a gem, we get some sort of benefit as well, which is actually crazy. And considering that last shop phase I had where I was just spam refreshing the shop and eventually buying all these sparks, it kind of all worked out great. So I actually didn't lose that much in spamming all my ether in the shop. You never want to refresh that much in the shop, but it works out. It works out. So I'm trying to figure out what to upgrade. I think it was just kind of really tough decisions here. Not quite sure what to do, but I like showing this process like I mentioned before. On enter creates a copy of this tile on an adjacent hex, the same one we had before. So I figure we have this lava gem that's kind of really like popping off on that one battle. So we can add that gem to the lava one. And look at this, we can upgrade it to create 2 copies. So it pops off like crazy. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe we did that to our fire one as well. Sorry, not our fire, that's our fire. I believe we did it, yes, to our totemic circle as well. So now all of them have the Sacred Emerald plus the upgraded gem, creates 2 copies of this tile on an adjacent hex upon a unit entering that tile. So cool to like get to a point you're entering an even harder portion of the game, something that was unexpected, and then immediately you get something that's like, that makes your build even stronger. So you're like, okay, I'm prepared for this. I'm confident going into this act. I think we have a chance to pop off even harder. Going crazy with it. I'm going crazy with this much commentary on a run. My Super Auto Pets videos are like 20 minutes of commentary per video. This is like, I don't even know. What do we just hit over an hour? And usually when I have over an hour of commentary like this, it's live commentary. This is post commentary. This is post edit. So what do we have? We have these portals. They're going to summons a random unit. Very, very interesting. So how does this work? At this point, I'm not too sure. But you see when I placed my shrine, it created tiles around the shrine. So I'm like, oh, okay. You know, I read the portals in the boss, but I'm not going to lie, I didn't process. So like, I'm kind of learning visually in the first turn here what's going on. And I just want to point out again, this is Act 4. This is all it is. Act 4 is just this, another final boss, which I think is really cool. So let's stick to our roots. Let's stick to our strategy. Let's get our units spammed. We got the totemic circle there in the corner. So hopefully we can force our unit to move in that direction. I don't know if he's going to though. It's kind of awkward. Yeah, trying to figure out what's going on. I figure these units are like stagnant right now. Maybe I can lava field them, but they're not moving. So it's like, I guess I can't lava field them. So the goal basically is to build the bridge to the portals and make your way to the 5 attack, 192 HP stone in the top right of the screen. That is the final boss. And you see the units will move to the edge, but nothing will get summoned. So I'm like, ooh, now I'm just going to be blocking the edge and not be able to build my way there. So I actually need to build my way there. But first, let's take care of that harmful tile that our strong bear's sitting on. That's our 3 Blade Flurry bear. So definitely want to protect him. And I summon a unit and I get a freaking volcano there. And immediately I'm like, okay, well I have to destroy this. So, destroy volcano. The only problem is our unit's going to move in that space, right? Luckily the cleric moves back. That's kind of nice. And we get enemies spawned on our side. Of course they're going to spawn on our side. And it's pretty scary. The good thing is our 4 Blade Flurry bear is right next to that one enemy. So, he's already chunking away. And I figure, okay, maybe it's time to get the attack scaling going. And we also have a talent, I believe, that when we spawn one of those tiles, it will put like 5 more on the map. So immediately we get the cascade. There's attack tiles everywhere. I don't even really care if the enemy gets them, because as long as my units start getting them and I kill these enemies before they hit our shrine, I'll just spawn more units, and that will get scaled up very, very fast. So yeah, decide to speed this up a bit because it is what it is, right? The cascade's going, and I take a lot of time to kind of make these decisions. You can imagine if this is 250% speed, the decisions I'm making are very, very slow. And you can still kind of see what's going on pretty clear. We have an 83 attack bear, we have a 48 attack cleric, we have a 46 attack tree, one of our random ally spawns. And look at this, I decided to start spawning units on the other side of the map. Not really sure. I think it's just because I was running out of space on my side. But I don't know, I'm kind of having fun with it too and experimenting, because I know this run is so strong at this point. You know, I think this run would have been successful on a lot higher difficulty. Regardless, it's a great showcase. But things can also happen in a run that are very unexpected, especially when these enemies are spawning. You can always have one spawn right next to your shrine. Especially you can have one spawn, move once, get double attack, and like 1 or 2 shot my shrine, potentially. Luckily, we're at 161 HP on the shrine, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's the highest health on the shrine I've ever had as well. You see here, we're making our way to the middle of the map, which is awesome. We have our 3 units like chipping away at the boss, but I kind of realize it's absolutely pointless having those units on the right, and I think it's only feeding the boss. I think the boss gets a benefit when units die, or something like that. But yeah, just so many different triggers. You see all the buffs going out, you see the bolts going out. It's just going crazy. So we have a 364 attack bear, we have a 3000 attack cleric. Oh, we have a 500 attack bear. And yeah, basically, the really cool thing that works out with these is we have now a 12,000 attack cleric leading the charge. Actually, mind-blowing. And I figure it's time to keep expanding. So I decided to summon a unit towards the front, get those tiles spawned around the sword, around the portal. That's just going to make more space, and if you see, we only need to summon 1 more unit to make the connection. And at this point, the whole middle map towards our shrine is filled with our beneficial tiles. We have a 50,000 attack cleric in the front line. We have a 5,000 attack cleric in the back line. It's absolutely popping off. And the reason that the clerics are getting so big is because of the corruption. That diamond gem that we took and buffed that skill slot with. That green check mark next to our cleric skill in the top left of the screen. That is what is really popping off in combination with the tile. So you see there, we are at 20,000 attack if I'm not mistaken. I might need your help towards the end of this, tracking how much attack this thing has, because it's actually going to be one of the recommendations I have to the developer when the numbers get this large, to make it like, let's say like 100,000, right? 100k, or do like 1.2 M, 1.2 million, something like that, when numbers get really big. So right now it could be like 40, or let's say 80.3k attack, right? Then you know, okay, 80,000 attack, easy. These numbers get wild. I mean, I think we're watching this at normal speed now, because it's like the final countdown. Do. I'm not gonna do it. I'm sorry. It would be awesome if this cleric had Blade Flurry as well. Unfortunately, it didn't get the proc or the trigger. We still need to destroy that portal, but it looks like our Furious Brute is rapidly approaching with 200 attacks, soon to be 400. How's our backline looking? 8,000 attack Bear, 120, or no, 12,000 attack Cleric. So our front Cleric is at 321,000. Check that. It might be at 3 million. It's either 321,000 or 3 million attack. Not quite sure there. I think you could tell, but I'm not able to pause it right now when I'm doing this commentary. And yeah, as we're wrapping up the run here, I really hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed playing. This game, I believe, is in its a pretty early state here. I don't want to try to say what state it's in and get it wrong. I apologize for not having all that information. What I wanted to basically get out with this video is this game just seems to be a good time. If you like the synergies, the min-maxing, the theory crafting, as well as the kind of roguelike auto-battler concept, as well as these kind of hex battle concepts. If you watched any of the other games I've played besides Super Auto Pets, the most recent one being The Last Flame, kind of has these same concepts. Obviously very, very different. Each game is unique in its own way. But this game, I think, even takes what I liked about The Last Flame to a whole nother level. So I highly, highly recommend this game, Godless. And let's pay attention to the final battle here. The very end. You see here, I don't even really care what I'm doing at the end here. I'm like, whatever. Let's just get a move on. Oh, I spawned a cleric to hopefully give my cleric a little more attack or a little more health. I don't know why. Hopefully I hover over it here. 4, 8. It's like either 80, 800 million, or 8 billion. I'm not sure how much attack that was exactly. I'll try to pause and go back and look and maybe put it in the video description. But wow, what a good time. Godless. Awesome. Awesome game. I'm going to show just kind of end and wrap it up here. So at the very end, you get to pick something for the next run. So you get to decide the fate of the world. So the next run, there are cleansed seals on all continents. Enemies no longer have modifiers, but there is +1 natural disaster on each continent. And the Sanctuary and Crossroads always offer at least 1 rare bonus, but discounts are never provided at other locations. Yeah, I think Burn Down at the far left is kind of the most controllable or least impactful or kind of most general. Don't know what I'm going to be running next run, so pick that. Now you get your score, which is pretty cool, and then you get to go in the library and use those points that I showed at the beginning of the run. So I'm going to show that as we wrap it up here. So if you hung around this long, I really do appreciate it. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I'll probably be coming out with some Godless videos, maybe once a week, once every other week. These take a lot more effort than my standard Super Auto Pets videos. Again, I'm a Super Auto Pets YouTube content creator primarily. I've been expanding these channels to other games and kind of getting out of my element, going to live gameplay instead of just commentary over recordings. So yeah, if you found me for the first time, welcome to the Brust Brigade, as I like to call it. The channel memberships are available to officially join the Brust Brigade, and as well as do some fun Super Auto Pet stuff. And yeah, if you like these auto battler concepts and you're kind of new to the genre, check out Super Auto Pets. Great game as well. But let's wrap it up here with Godless. Picking those skills, and as always, have a fantastic day. We'll catch you in the next one.